last show, Nick and we talked about kind of how you can't really evaluate draft picks on the first year and how you have to stretch it out a little bit, give them some time to develop, grow, get their legs under them.
Yeah, everybody always says wait 3 years. Mickey Loomis says it, but it's like one of the biggest cliches in sports. You can't judge draft class for 3 years.
Yeah. So let's go with that and let's see who will be the Saints' biggest draft winners in the next 3 years.
Yeah, like, I think so many times we talk about these guys like, where's he going to play this year? Is there a spot for him? Is he going to start this year? But yeah, let's think. What is it? 2028 now?
Yeah.
So they've played 3 seasons. Who gets the biggest grades? And look, I'm going to start with the one that I think people are probably sick of already after we've done 3 or 4 podcasts this week. But I'm going to go with Devin Neal. Like, I just have a feeling that future will bode well, that they got a 6th-round pick that is still a productive member of the team. I think you get an automatic A if a 6th-round pick is still a productive member of the team 3 years later. And I just see that happening. I mean, I love the value there. I think running backs can get on the field. It's a position where you can play a part-time role. Maybe it'll be even more than that for him. I mean, how many times did I say over and over again, I want the Saints to wait when we're having the Ashton Genty conversation and they're Bucky Irving on day 3 instead. If Devin Neal, and I think that's kind of potential we're talking about, is a Bucky Irving, that would be a home run pick, I think, 3 years from now. So I'm going to predict that happens.
I'm going to go on the defense and say Vernon Broton. And you might say, well, why are you going with the round 3 defensive tackle? Listen to me while I'm cooking right here. So the thought process behind that is it's the time for Brandon Staley's new defensive scheme that he's bringing out here to get implemented. This is the new person that they've kind of pegged as the experiment for Bo Davis to continue to build on from the previous experiences that they've had. But also, I think there's going to come a time within the next 3 years, if the Saints' defense is pretty good or decent, that Brandon Staley's going to start getting those calls again to become a head coach once again, because he's already been in those shoes before. So if you have a player whose DNA is what the Saints have done to at that point, I'm guessing in the next 3 years, they're going to be fighting for at least the NFC South title. So a decent enough team to have that in place, then you want the person who kind of, was the first set of eyes and first player kind of in this new pack to be a leader of sorts in that defensive.
The first defensive player drafted by Brandon Staley in New Orleans. I mean, it's a really good point. I was reticent to pick him because, like, I don't understand the crowd that they have at that position right now. I don't understand, like, even right after the draft, I typed up the depth chart. You can go find that on the website if you want a vision for what the roster looks like right now. I was like, what order am I supposed to?
Yeah, like, I don't know if he sees the field that much this year.
But trade for Devon Godchow right away.
Right.
They decided to keep both Nathan Shepard and Colin Saunders, which surprised me. Brian Brzee is in this mix. Now that it's a 3-4 base, they got big defensive ends here. Are they moving Carl Granderson and Chase Young out to edge? Is Cam Jordan an interior guy? There's a lot to sort out, but the point of this exercise is 3 years from now. I think a year from now, right, I won't be a Shepard. There probably won't be a Saunders. There probably might not be a Cam Jordan. But it'll be really interesting to see how they all fit. Is it Broughton on one side and Brzee on another? That would be a best case scenario for the Saints. I know you and Nick, I remember I was listening in while I was in the draft media room while you guys were doing the live stream, watching Broughton's tape and being really impressed by it. Look, I was torn between Devin Neal and Kelvin Banks for my first pick. You left him sitting there. I wanted to be a little more interesting than just saying, the highest player they drafted, the best player they drafted. Yeah. But, Kelvin Banks is probably my number one answer. I mean, Devin Neal has to make it. Kendry Miller is a 3rd-round pick who we were really high on, and he didn't make it. I think Kelvin Banks is going to make it. I think he's a bona fide top 10 draft pick. I think worst case scenario, he doesn't play left tackle, and they're like, you're going to be Zach Martin or Quentin Nelson as a left guard, but I think he's going to be a left tackle, and I think he's going to be a good one, and I think he's going to be, when we're doing our top 10 players on the team, he's going to be in that top 5, top 10. He's a building block for this team. I think he's going to be a good player. I like the pick for that reason. Mickey Loomis said in his pre-draft press conference, when you're picking that high, you want somebody that's going to start for you for 8 to 10 years, and you go to bed at night and you don't worry about that position. Yeah. And if that is what he becomes, then he's the best pick in this draft class.
And I mean, I guess the final answer would you can put some other players there, and I'm surprised that you didn't take him earlier. But Tyler Shuck, I think if he's able to close that door early and let this coaching staff know, yeah, you don't have to worry about picking another quarterback. You have me.
Yeah.
I think that.
You also have used the word "if" 2 times, though. I mean, that's a whole conversation with that guy, right? Like,
yeah,
if he's the starter 3 years from now, he is the answer to this question.
Right. Right. No, and for sure. And that means that the Kellen Moore system is working how it's supposed to work. If this is his guy not if this is his guy that he got. And if he pans out, continue with that word again. If he pans out how they want him to in the development. And there's going to be a lot of moving pieces around him. There's going to be players that, I'm thinking just in terms of 3 years from now, Alvin Kamara probably isn't going to be here. Some of the receivers probably aren't going to be here. So if he can stay consistent throughout that, I think that bodes well. But also just thinking long term, and I know it's way too early for that. We haven't seen them do one game yet. But do you think at that point, Kellen's leash is still kind of flexible, or does it have to be, all right, it's time to start seeing results?
Oh, well, yeah, I mean, 3 years is also probably the time frame for him. I mean, Dennis Allen didn't make it 3.
Right.
Because of the state of this team, he probably gets 3 years, but he doesn't get 4 if this thing's not moving in the right direction. So that's the same time frame for draft picks. It's the same time frame for head coaches. But yeah, look, when we conceived of this topic, where does Tyler Shuck fit into this topic? Like, if you're a strong Tyler Shuck believer, taking a quarterback at number 40, if you think he's going to be their starting quarterback in 2028, he's the answer. He's just, there's only 2 ways that pick can go. It's a home run A+,
right,
or he's not the starter anymore, and you judge a draft class after 3 years, and he's not on the team anymore. He's not the starter anymore. There's only 2 ways that can go. And I think at best, it's a 50-50 proposition. When you just look at the history of starting quarterbacks in the NFL, even if he had been picked 20 spots higher, probably less than 50-50. So like the pick, love the value of the pick. If he's the starter, he's the only answer to this question. But it's a gamble. It's a 50-50 at best gamble. There's no doubt about it.
Definitely a 50-50 gamble. But what else I was thinking about too is one of the more interesting exercises that we did this offseason was talk about the 2027 contracts. Also, I mean, I know for this exercise it's about the draft picks from this draft class, but I think at that point you have to start seeing you got to see that this year coming up, real results from the Kool-Aid McKinstries of the world as pillar pieces before you start rotating other people in there.
No question. Look, any honorable mentions? I thought about Jonas Sanker for this. I think they're going to find a home for him, but Banks and Neal were definitely my top 2.
I think the linebacker is going to be really good.
Yeah.
Once he gets, Pete.
He'll have an opportunity by them too. With I think Demario Davis might be done playing by 2028.
I think that might be, the closing of that chapter. The investment that he puts in his body. I mean, you never know what kind of medical advancement is going to happen in the next year, let alone 3 years, to see what's going to happen. But I think at that point, it's safe to say that he's going to be done.